And with that, we have a beautiful lady in the studio with us this morning, Miss Tricia Trotman-Maraj, and she has a book that is being published now, right?
Yes, yes, it is. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and all listeners. Thank you for having me here this morning. Ellsworth and to WACK Radio, you guys are doing a very, very good job.
And you have Ken on the other
And
side.
Ken as well.
Ken the Juice.
Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
So, okay, Tricia, I was reading some excerpts from the book.
Yes.
Right, and you talk about you focus a lot on the southern part of the stories in your book. You talk about St. Madeleine, Pleasantville, San Fernando, Faizabad, and Couva. Why
Yes.
those places?
Because those are the areas, particularly where the stories are based. I am a product of the Southland. I used to live on George Street, that caller that just called in. My grandfather was Ram, that was the Wewe banker in Trinidad. So I came from there. I attended Manipur RC School,
Okay.
and then went on to Holy Faith Convent in Couva, and on from there.
Okay. So your background is based.
It's
in the
based
Southland.
definitely in
Yeah.
South and Central Trinidad. This is why I decided to write these stories based particularly in these areas, highlighting the plight of women in Trinidad and Tobago, but particularly so the plight of black women. And when I say black, because we are all black basically living here, we are talking about skin shade, because it is a serious issue. There's a lot of covert racism that is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago, and we have the marginalization of women, particularly women of the darker shades, that are being actually left out because of their skin color. Now, to someone who is listening to this, let us say outside of Trinidad and Tobago, even the West Indies, Americans, Europeans, they might find it actually hard to understand how is it possible for black people, because they consider all of us black, to be racist. But this is something that stems out of slavery. These are actually remnants of slavery that Trinidadians and West Indians, I have found, they continue to allow to persist. Right, where, for example, things like a black woman looking for the reddest man, as we would say in Trinidad,
Right,
or the lighter skin one, so that when you have your children, there'd be a little lighter complexion, right? So, of course, they would have a better chance in society. And there's a reason why these women decided to do that, because color of skin is a factor in Trinidad and Tobago. It determines where you live, it determines the job that you get, it determines the person that you marry, the families that you're able to marry into, and by extension, the amount of money that you make in this country.
Do you really believe that?
Of course I do.
You had first-hand experience
Of
of
course,
that.
most definitely.
Okay. You talk about self-loathing and low esteem and stuff in women.
Well, yeah, it's called, actually, as a term for it, it's called reverse racism.
Okay.
Where, as black people, we have learned to hate ourselves, hate the texture of our hair, hate the color of our skin, hate our culture, our background, our ancestry. We have learned to hate us.
And you also stated that a Caucasian woman has a better chance than even in Trinidad and Tobago.
In Trinidad and Tobago. But, not only Caucasian, but, those of the lighter shades.
Okay.
The ones that would pass for what we call white. I was having a discussion with, some people, originally Trinidadians who had lived abroad, and they were talking about some of their experiences. We were talking about the same topic, actually. And, one of them said to me, Jen said, she was talking to some of her Trinidadian friends when she had just returned to Trinidad after living abroad for so many years. And they said to her, well, let's go to this place. I wouldn't call the name of the place, because, we only have white people. And she said, well, I'm black, so I won't fit in. They said, no, in Trinidad, you're white, because of the complexion of your skin. In New York, you're black, but over here, once you reach here, don't worry, you're white, so you'll get it.
Well, you see, this is one of the problems that I have with that, because actually down here, what we call red-skinned people, and who can some people term as white, because I don't term anybody white, because there's no white people. There's Caucasian people,
Correct.
and and stuff like that. So outside, when they go outside, they get a culture shock, because when they reach
Definitely.
outside, they realize that, hey,
You're black.
that's a great equalizer
Yes.
outside, you know. But coming back to your book, you talk about the bleaching of the skin and all that stuff. You do people really bleach themselves?
Of
Really?
course they do. It's still happening. And what I have found, attending a convent school, it was practiced there. I know lots of people I went to school with that do it, that still do it today. I am a teacher, and I know of students that are still doing it. Bleaching products are the number one sellers. They are the ones, sponsoring beauty pageants and things like that. So it is an issue. Everybody wants to be naturally fair.
And but I think that you think that these things today have any place in our society?
I don't think it has a place at all anywhere, and it should not, particularly in a country like Trinidad and Tobago, where we are all different shades, colors, textures. That is what creates the beauty that is our country, and I don't believe it should have a place, but unfortunately it does. And this is why I decided to write this book, because you see, it's so covertly done that it's like a cancer, and it's growing, it's spreading, and somebody has to tap it, somebody has to expose it, because nobody's talking about it, but everybody basically doing it.
You talk about sexual harassment and abuse. What do you mean?
Definitely, a lot of women in our country are being sexually harassed in the workplace. And I was shocked to find out from an attorney in Trinidad and Tobago that sexual harassment is not even a term recognized by the law in Trinidad and Tobago.
Is that right?
It is correct, yes.
So you think by highlighting these issues in a book will bring about some kind of...
I am hoping for policy change, most definitely, so that the powers that be does something to address the situation, because we have countless young women, beautiful young women, they already have esteem problems that they have to deal with, and then going into the workplace trying to get a job, and then you realize, well, listen, if I have to get this job, then this is what I need to do. Singing Sandra said it very well in her song. And it is happening. Even if you do get the job, you have to do it to keep the job.
And you talk about sponsorship, and you have been having problems to get sponsors for your book, and actually you sent out letters to sponsors, and one of the companies wrote you back saying no vacancy.